the proximal point and the distal point. The proximal point is the distance of the organ from the trunk. From the trunk, the proximal, the nearest point of the organ from the trunk.
Okay, so let's think about it this way.
Okay.
So proximal is not a definite. It's not a definite. Definite or distal is not a definite location.
Okay.
It is a definition in relation to something else.
Okay.
Right? And it is in relation to the trunk.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm looking for my my wrist guard. Okay, it's in relation to the trunk. So farther away from the trunk is distal.
Okay.
Closer to the trunk is proximal.
Okay.
So you know, you can only say proximal and distal when you're comparing two things.
Two things. Okay.
So what you are saying is nearer and farther.
Okay. But apart the trunk, we can have also another reference point.
No, no.
For example, if we consider the hat as a reference point.
No. It's the trunk.
Okay, only the trunk.
Yes. Now, if you want to, no, if you, in the case of the reference points, so
the attachment point.
Yeah, the other reference point is the midline. Okay, the midline. Farther away from the midline is lateral.
Okay.
So going closer to the midline is medial. So for example, my ear is the most lateral part of my head. Okay. So my eye is medial to my ear. Okay. And this is the midline.
The midline. Okay.
Okay. And then if you cut the body into two, so anything, so my mouth is superior to my chin. Superior, higher up. So my mouth is superior to my chin. All right. But my chest is inferior to my chin.
Okay. I know. Yesterday, you gave us an example. You said the elbow comparing to the waist is distal or proximal?
What do you think?
The elbow comparing to the waist, is it distal or proximal?
What do you think? So think about
distal. Not the waist.
Think about distal being at distance.
Okay.
At distance. Think about proximal as posh.
Okay.
Okay. So the question is, est-ce que poignette là, pi poche corps que coude bois?
Okay.
Okay.
But the waist is part of the trunk.
Wrist, not waist. Wrist. W-R-I-S-T, wrist.
Okay, le point.
Là, poignet.
Oui, poignette.
Okay.
Okay.
Not waist, not W-A-I-S-T, not rein.
Okay.
Wrist.
The wrist. So the wrist is distal. Okay, it's farther than the elbow.
Yes.
Yeah.
OK. Li pi a distance.
Ke koud la.
Ke koud la. OK. And then the other thing to remember is posterior. OK, pos, ou bien dos, dorsal, ou bien anterior avant.
Facial.
OK, so anterior.
The front.
Yeah, posterior.
Posterior. Okay.
OK. OK. Today, now I posted a lot of material.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all of those, so so you don't have to go and look for all of those videos yourself. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So today, wait a second. What are we doing today? Right. I'm going to share my screen. So today, we are looking at the interpreted medical appointment itself. Okay. We want to learn about the appointment itself. Okay. And then we said that there are 3 phases to an appointment. Okay. There's what you call the pre-session. Then there's the session, which is during the appointment. And then there's a post-session. Okay. So again, pre-session, session. Pre-session is before the appointment. Okay. Before the appointment.
Yeah.
Session is during the appointment, and post-session is
after the appointment.
Okay. All right. And there are specific things you need to do during each part. Okay, during each part of it. So the purpose of the pre-session is to prepare for the interpreting encounter so that you can have a smooth and effective session. Okay. So during the pre-session, you want to review information. Okay. Now, I said this says that if available, review the patient's chart, but we don't really do this. Okay. Let's cross this out. We'll never do this. It's not necessary. Okay. So I'm actually going to cross that out.
It's for the doctor.
Yes. Yes. Okay, so I'm crossing that out. But you should, it's okay to know the reason for the appointment. Where is this appointment? Is it orthopedics? Is it cardiac? Okay. Especially, again, you don't really need any, you don't so much need this like medical history. Okay. but it's okay to know I know we will see, you don't, because it's up to the doctor to tell you just the relevance, if there's relevant information. Okay? So I'm also going to cross that out. All right? So anyway, you want to clarify the logistics, confirm the time, the location, and the participants of the appointment. Preparing terminology, anticipate potential medical terms, and review relevant vocabulary. Then it's what you call setting the stage. If possible, meet with the healthcare provider beforehand to discuss the appointment's goals and any specific concerns. And prepare the patient. Again, this is not you who does that. Okay, this is the provider who does that. So we're also going to cross that out. I'm crossing it out, but leaving it there so that you can understand that even though the note says that, we don't really do. So interpreter self-preparation, mentally prepare for the session, center yourself and focus. All right. So let's look at some of these videos about the pre-session. Let's copy hyperlink and
Hola, mi nombre es Dr. Summers. Hi, my name is Dr. Summers, mucho gusto. Hablo un poco español, pero vamos a tener una intérprete aquí hoy para ayudarnos.
Bueno, gracias.
Hola, mucho gusto. Soy Claudia.
Hi, nice to meet you. My name is Claudia. Hi, doctor. Good afternoon.
Nice to meet you.
Bueno, me gustaría dejar en claro algunas cosas. Primero, estaré hablando en primera persona. Todo lo que diga aquí, todo lo que hablemos quedará confidencial. El tercero, si puede hablar en frases cortas, por favor, se lo agradecería para facilitar la comunicación con la doctora. Y por último, si acaso hay algo que no quisiera que la doctora supiera, entonces por favor le pido que no lo diga porque todo lo que diga será interpretado para la doctora. Gracias.
all right, so Enoch will understand all that she's saying now. He speaks Spanish. The rest of us don't speak Spanish. But let's keep going.
My doctor was telling Marta Maria here that I wanted to clarify some things before, and I want to clarify them with you too.
Okay.
I will be speaking in first person throughout the consultation. Everything that is spoken here will stay confidential. Thirdly, if there is anything that you would not like for the patients to know, if you could please not say it because everything will be interpreted.
Okay.
And lastly, if you could please speak in short phrases, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Well,
Okay, so I want you to put on I'm going to take it back, and I want you to list the things that she has said during her introduction, okay? All right? So I'm going to take it back. So make a list of the things that she says, the clarifications that she says, the things she says she will do, okay?
In first person throughout the... My doctor was telling Marta Maria here that I wanted to clarify some things before, and I want to clarify them with you too.
okay.
I will be speaking in first person.
Okay. What did she say?
He is going to speak in first person.
Okay.
Throughout the consultation, everything that is spoken here will stay confidential.
What did she say?
Everything will be kept confidential.
Everything will be kept confidential.
Thirdly, if there is anything that you would not like for the patients to know, if you could please not say it because everything will be interpreted.
Okay.
And lastly, if you could please...
What else did she say? What did she say now?
I'm trying to fix my
I didn't hear.
Okay.
I
Take it
didn't
back a
hear
bit.
well.
the audio.
Let's see if we can put closed caption.
Yes.
Okay, no, okay. No closed caption.
If there is anything that you would not like for the patients to know, if you could please not say it because everything will be interpreted. Okay.
What did he say? What did she say?
If there is anything you would not like for the people, if there's
The sound
anything
is
you would not like for the patients to know.
Mm-hmm.
the sound is not too good for me. I'm trying to fix it.
Nadia, you need to put on your microphone so we can hear you.
Mhm.
Put on the Nadia.
Level. The audio level. Aye.
Audio. Yeah, audio setting.
Oui, moi, côté m'te à position pas de bon, m'te obligé à me déplacer.
Okay. Mic volume. Speaker, mic.
I know.
Okay. All right. Okay, so she said if you don't want the patient to say to hear something, please don't say it because everything will be interpreted. Okay?
Uh-huh.
All right.
Okay.
So 1, she says, I will be speaking in the first person. 2, I will keep everything confidential. 3, everything will be interpreted.
And lastly, if you could please speak in short phrases, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, what else did she say now?
I can't.
What did she say?
I could barely hear it.
She says, please speak in short phrases.
Audio was
Speak in short phrases. In other
speaking
words,
short what?
short phrases.
Okay.
Phrase,
Short
phrase,
sentences.
short sentences.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let me come out of this. Let's actually look at another one. Before even the pre-session, let's look at the preparation. Okay. Preparation. Let's take a look at so because the pre-session is you're already in the room or outside the room, but even before the pre-session, there are some preparations you can make even before that. So let's look at those.
Welcome to part 1 of this interpreter training video regarding preparation. If you are a subscriber to this channel, thank you so much. We already have over 6,000 subscribers, and we've received a lot of positive feedback. If you're not a subscriber, go ahead and click the button below so that you can follow our videos. Last year, we didn't get out many videos, but hopefully this year we'll be getting out at least a video a month to help you in your profession to become a better interpreter. In this particular video, we're going to be addressing, as I mentioned, preparation. Assignment preparation is an often overlooked aspect of interpreting, but it can make a huge difference in your performance. Assignment preparation falls into 3 categories: logistics, equipment, and linguistics. First, let's talk about logistics. Obviously, the most important thing is to know where you're going. If you don't make it to the assignment in the first place, the rest of your preparation's in vain. Know where you're going and how long it takes to get there. If you're heading to a location that you've never been to before, you may want to not only map the appointment beforehand, but also drive the route. An address may be tricky to locate, and knowing exactly where you're going can reduce a lot of stress and ensure that you make it on time. Also, many people will use Google Maps to find an address, but fail to account for the time of day of the appointment. In many cities, the time of day can make a significant difference in how long it takes to get there. Not only that, how long does it take to get from, say, the parking garage or the parking lot to your assignment, up an elevator, and find the right floor? Other aspects of logistics, especially for event interpreting, include having a site contact person and designating a place to meet up in advance. Go over client expectations so that you can understand where and when your services will be needed. And understand billing. If you're not working through an agency, find out beforehand who and how you are to bill so that you don't end up providing your professional services for free. You've made preparations for logistics for your assignment, you will need to account for any equipment that will be needed. For event or simultaneous interpretation, you will need to provide headsets for your target language speaker. Before the assignment, check each receiver with the transmitter to ensure that they're working properly and in sync. Also, ensure that your equipment is charged or has fresh batteries. When you go to the assignment, take extra headsets and extra batteries to account for any unforeseen issue. If you're doing a consecutive interpretation assignment, such as a doctor's visit, legal appointment, or social service intervention, you most likely will not need any equipment. However, you will want to bring along a notepad and pen to take notes as you interpret. Ensure that you have these items in a professional zip-up binder or container. Most of our clients can't evaluate you on your language skill, so it's incredibly important to present yourself in a professional manner. Lastly, you'll want to bring along some type of business card. Remember, although you are an interpreter, you are also in charge of marketing yourself. Make sure that you leave your client with a tangible way to remember you and to contact you for further appointments. The last aspect of preparation.
Let me just make a comment here. I mean, you know, this video is how many years old? 6 years old. That is before COVID. So but I mean, we still do a lot of travel, going to the location to interpret. We still do that. You know, we still do that. And then this person is talking about somebody who is what they call a freelance interpreter. In other words, you work for an agency. Okay. A lot of interpreters are, you know, staff, like in a hospital or somewhere like that. Okay. So, but it's still good. You should still know what, but the points he's making are still relevant. And then, if you work for a, and the point he made about, anyway, if you work for an agency, some agencies might not want you marketing yourself. You understand? You know, they might not want you marketing yourself. Yeah, because if you give them your card, you're marketing yourself. You're trying to take business from that agency who sent you. So these are some issues. Okay, let's continue.
Yeah. Issues that you can face. While you can never be ready for every single idiom or technical jargon thrown your way, you can reduce the need to clarify by preparing for the language specific to your assignment. This preparation starts before you even have an assignment.
Remember, so when you say clarify, clarification is what you do if you don't understand something. But the point he's making here is that, okay, yes, you can clarify what you should, not you can, you should, you must clarify what you don't understand. But it is your professional responsibility that you continue to improve your program or your vocabulary so that you don't have need to clarify so much. You understand? Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. But if you have to clarify, you must clarify. You can't say, "Oh, I'm ashamed. They will think I don't know what I'm doing. Then I'll just guess." No, you can't do that. You must clarify. Okay, so two things. One, you must clarify, but also you must try to make sure that you continue to develop yourself, your linguistic capability, so that you don't need to clarify so much.
As an interpreter interested in continued professional development, you should always be expanding your vocabulary. Listening to podcasts, reading articles, watching documentaries in various disciplines that you may encounter. Know what you're getting into. Your assignment may be medical, legal, social service, or religion. Take time to review common words and phrases related to the general content. If at all possible, get specifics of the case or event. You should ask your client for all relevant notes or PowerPoint slides. If you're involved in a police interview or interrogation, you may want to ask for names and relations of the individuals involved to avoid getting tripped up. If you're interpreting for a wedding or religious event, there may be text that is read from a book or religious scripture. If you can find this out beforehand, you can save yourself a lot of trouble by having this material pre-printed and in front of you for your reference. Assignment preparation is a critical aspect to your success as an interpreter. Please do not be that interpreter that waits until the last minute to look up an address or to look over the case materials. Arrive on time and represent yourself, your agency, and your profession well. If you like this video, please go ahead and like it below. Also, leave us a comment. We'd love to hear your feedback. What did you like? What didn't you like? What did you want to see next? Also, be on the lookout for interpreter training of preparation part 2. And in that video and the ones to follow, we'll be providing short presentations of medical, religious, social service scenarios so that you can learn new vocabulary, but also so that you can practice simultaneously interpreting along with that information to see if you're able to catch up and where you need to grow as an interpreter. Again, thank you for watching this video and be on the lookout for videos to come.
Okay, so so we said remember we said there's pre-session, session, post-session. Okay, pre-session is what that lady was doing in the room. That is, I will interpret in the first person. Everything will be confidential. I will interpret everything. Please speak in short. That's pre-session. But preparation comes even before the pre-session. Okay. Let's listen.
Okay.
Let's listen to the next one.
Look out for videos to come. In our last video, we discussed the various aspects of preparation, and while there is a lot to consider, probably the foremost issue is your vocabulary. So that's why in the next few videos, part 2, 3, and 4, we'll be showing a medical, social service, and religious example so that you can practice and see new material. This first scenario is religious in nature. Weddings, conferences, religious services. As populations become more diverse, especially in the United States, religious groups are trying to reach out.
All right. Well, you can watch this by yourself. It is here. Preparation 2. Okay. Let's see what is in preparation 3.
We don't see your screen.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay, so this is what was showing. I said I'm not going to bother to show it because this is preparation 2. But you could hear, but you couldn't see, right?
Yeah, we heard it.
Okay, so I said I'm not going to bother to show it. You watch it yourself because it's here. This is it. Okay. So let's see if we can, let's look at preparation 3.
Welcome back to Interpreter Training Preparation. This is part 3 of our series. And again, if you haven't watched the previous videos, please go back and watch those. But this video will be giving a scenario of medical nature. We'll be talking about diabetes. In the United States, that's a particular disease that has been increasing and that we see a lot of need for interpretation for. So watch this scenario, and again, listen for the words and phrases that may be unfamiliar to you. Figure out what words and phrases you would say to interpret that. Then go back again and watch the video and simultaneously interpret the video, and so you can practice your skills that way.
Again, I'm not gonna take time to show this. You look at it yourself, okay?
Okay.
All right, let's look at let's see if there's anything here that we want to see in 4.
Welcome to the Linguava podcast, The Invisible Profession, where we give you tools, tips, and resources in medical interpretation and translation that help bring to life our industry and ultimately help improve health outcomes for the limited English proficient communities.
Before an assignment, you're talking about all the studying that an interpreter must do, making sure that you are also the subject matter expert in whatever subject you're going into, because you're going to be interpreting for a subject matter expert. So you also have to make sure that you're knowledgeable. Talk to us a little bit about how you prepare before you're getting ready to go in and interpret for a conference or for the UN. What information do you ask that is provided for you, and what information actually ends up getting provided, and how far off are they usually?
That's a very good question, and actually that was the topic of as much fronts as possible, and try to get the client on your side and save them time, because if we ask for the right things, we might get it. So it's I'm going to summarize this method in a very simple way.
Okay.
I used an acronym that it was not my creation. This was an acronym created by an ethnographer, Dale Himes, and it is called the Speaking Grid. That is what Dale Himes created to describe how communication works. So the acronym is, let's start with the S. So you need to understand the situation, the place where you will be working in. If it is a hospital, well, hospitals.
Right. Again, I won't go into it. So, look at it in your own time. It is here. Okay, that's preparation 4. Okay. All right. All right. So going back to there's your preparation, and then there's your pre-session. Okay. So let's take a look at the pre-session. So your preparation, your linguistic preparation, your logistic, equipment, linguistic, and you right now, you are preparing for your next, as we are doing this now, you are already preparing for your next appointment, because you are learning. Doing this is preparation. Okay, taking this course is your preparation. So you are already preparing. Okay. But now let's go into, so There's your preparation. Let's say preparation, pre-session, sessions, post-session. So let's take a look a bit more at the pre-session.
Often interpreters are thrown into encounters with very little information about what's already happening with the patient and the provider. So once they're there, they try to piece together clues from what the patients are saying to figure out what the backstory is. Something providers can do to help an interpreter establish some context is allow them about 15 seconds at the start of an encounter. And in those 15 seconds, the interpreter introduces himself or herself, assures the patient of confidentiality, and that everything will be interpreted. It also gives the interpreter the ability to gauge a patient's level of language and conversation style. When you're about to deliver bad news or tell the patient something that's really going to change their life forever, it's a good idea to meet with the interpreter briefly before that encounter to give them some idea of what they're walking into so that they can better convey the message. By providing context to the interpreter before the start of the session, you're promoting patient safety, better health outcomes, and a greater patient experience of care.
Okay. Allow time for the interpreter to introduce.
I think that the preparation and the precision are the same, no?
No. Allow time for the interpreter to introductions and pre-session with the patient. Take time to prep the interpreter for the difficult conversation. That is, the interpreter is already in the room. Your preparation is 1 week before. Do you know where you are going? Do you know where you are going? Do you know who you are going to? So that's your preparation. This is your pre-session.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that's what that is. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Let's look at this one.
Hello, and thanks for joining. Today I'm going to talk about the pre-session, and if you're a medical interpreter, then hopefully you already know what a pre-session is. If you're a court interpreter, you may not have heard of it before, or if you work in other sorts of interpretation. And I think that that's a shame. I actually think that the pre-session is really important. It's really great for the interpreter to be able to connect for just a few moments in an impartial, unbiased way with the people who will be using their services in order to set the ground rules for how it's supposed to work. Because let's face it, interpreting is a little bit weird. Somebody's going to be speaking as though they were somebody else. And whenever you see interpreting in the movies or on television, it's not the way that it actually works. It's always reported speech. Oh, well, he says blah, blah, blah. And there's paraphrasing, and there's advocacy, and there's things that normally under regular conditions do not occur in an interpreting assignment. So it's really important for you to be on the same page with your clients and for them to know how to help you have your job done easier. Now, you have to look at it from two perspectives. You're going to have the things that you want to communicate, but then you also have to see how you can meet the person so that they can hear what you have to say. It's not enough to just say the things. They have to actually hear them. So in a pre-session, there's usually 4 things that we're told to say. The SIFEs or the SIFs or CIFEs, which are confidentiality, I speak in the first person, flow control, and everything will be interpreted. Now, the first and the last, fine, but I take issue with the middle two because they mean nothing to the average person. If you say, I will speak in the first person, they're going to have to figure out in their heads what that means, and you don't want to make them work to understand. So I prefer to say something like, I will speak as though I were you. You can speak directly to the doctor. Or I will speak as if I were you. You can speak directly to the patient. Okay? You can even throw in something like, it'll make things go much smoother if you speak to each other, and I'll just speak as though I were you. Right? So that's much more explanatory than I speak in the first person. Flow control, again, nobody knows what that means. Barely the interpreters know what that means. What it means is that every now and then you may raise your hand to pause them, or you may ask for a repetition, and that's all part of you managing the flow of the dialogue. Okay? But you're not going to use a fancy term of art, like flow management, to describe that. You're going to use basic language that the doctor and the patient can understand. So you have to think about your pre-session as an elevator pitch where you have very little time to establish the guidelines of an interpreter-facilitated conversation. And it's your moment to set those ground rules so that later if somebody slips and they say, tell her this, or don't interpret that, then you can say, oh, as I said earlier, speaking as the interpreter, everything will be interpreted. And actually you can speak directly to the patient, right? You already said it. So now they know, now it's on them that actually they slipped up, which is fine. It's not about fault or anything like that, but they were warned, they knew. So when you remind them, you're not a jerk. You're just telling them what they need to know so you can do your job properly. So a pre-session is what happens at the beginning of a medical interpretation assignment. It'll also happen in other parts of community interpreting. So you can do this when you're an educational interpreter or you're interpreting in church or anything that falls under the auspices of community interpreting. And you say the same exact thing to your clients in English and your clients in your other language. And you take control because they're not going to necessarily expect you to do that pre-session. So you really have to go in there like, hi, I'm Athena, I'm your interpreter, and I'm just going to introduce myself. I'll be interpreting that everything that is said. It'll remain confidential. If I need you to pause, I'll just ask you to pause. And if you could just speak directly to the other person, that'll make things go a lot more smoothly. I'll interpret as though I were you. Just a moment, I'm going to say all that to the other party. Hola, mi nombre es Athena y blah, 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 blah. Okay? But you take control. You get in there, you say what you have to say it quickly, you say it with expression, you make eye contact, and you say it in a way that will be properly received. Then you tell them that you're going to say it in the other language and you go for it. You don't have a lot of time, especially in a medical setting. The doctors are going to want to cut you off right away and start the session. What they don't understand is that if you give a good pre-session, the session will actually be more efficient. It'll go quicker, and they'll be able to get to their next assignment okay. So it's win-win for everyone, but you really need to rehearse it and then make it feel natural when you do it live. So some things to include are confidentiality, a mention of speaking directly to each other, a mention of a hand signal you might use if you're going to pause them, and telling them that everything will be interpreted. And one final thing you might want to mention is that if you're going to be taking notes, that they will be kept confidential and destroyed after the appointment. You never know what kind of people you're going to be meeting in an interpreting assignment, and some people have a lot of trauma, especially related to people taking notes about them, depending on where they come from and what the political situation might be. So you don't want them freaking out that you're taking notes. So you just say the notes are to help the interpreter's memory, and they will be destroyed after the assignment. You can even do it in front of them if you think that will alleviate any concerns. And that's the pre-session. Thanks for joining.
Okay, so now I want you to write up your pre-session presentation. Okay, each of you write your pre-session in English and then or in whatever language, and then you're going to do your pre-session now. Okay. All right. Okay. All right, so you have I give you 5 minutes to do that. before you do, what are the elements that you need in your pre-session? Gio, give me one element you need in your pre-session. Hello? Nadia? Can you unmute yourself?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, tell me one thing that you need to include in your pre-session.
Pre-session, after the logistic, the equipment.
No.
Mm-hmm.
No. Okay. All right. Tell me one thing in your your pre-session is your introduction. So tell me what one thing you need to include in your introduction.
Well, you must present yourself, give them the patient your name, the doctor your name. You must tell them that everything they say will be interpreted.
Okay,
To
so you've
be
given up. No,
confidentiality.
just one. Okay, Gio, you're giving us so.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, you want to say everything will be everything will be interpreted. Enoch, one thing you need to include. Just one.
You must include after the presentation saying that I will be your interpreter today. Everything will be interpreted.
Mm-hmm.
Everything will be kept confidential.
Okay.
Also,
No.
you can
Just
say
one.
that.
Just one.
Yeah.
Okay, so Gio, you said everything will be interpreted. Enoch, you said everything will be confidential. Nadia, what else do you need to include?
Your name.
No. We're not. Yes, your name, but that's not one of the things I'm looking for. Everything will be interpreted. Everything will be confidential. What else?
Short sentences.
Okay, what do you mean by short sentences? Tell me, say it well.
Short phrase. You're gonna say things in a short phrases.
Okay, all right. Gio, tell me something else.
If there is anything that needs to be clarified, I will, ask either one of you to take a voice so I can, to manage the flow of the conversation. You could actually pause the conversation so you can make clarification.
No. In your okay, so all right, let me go over them. I will interpret everything. Everything will be confidential. Please speak in short phrases and allow me time to interpret.
Yes.
Speak directly to the to make things easier. Speak directly to the patient, and I will speak as though I'm you. If I need you to stop or slow down, I will make a sign. Okay, so now I want you to write that in your own words. Okay, 4 or 5 things that you need to.
No side conversation.
Sorry. No, it's not. It's not.
No side
That's
conversation.
not one of the things. No, that's not one of the things. Nobody within. Yes, that's important, but that's not one of the things that they told us. Okay, so I'm gonna play this. I'm gonna play this again, so you hear it again, and then I want you to now. As she's speaking, when she tells you one of the things, you write it down. Okay. All right. Let's see if it has subtitles.
about the pre-session, and if you're a medical interpreter, then hopefully you already know what a pre-session is. If you're a court interpreter, you may not have heard of it before, or if you work in other sorts of interpretation. And I think that that's a shame. I actually think that the pre-session is really important. It's really great for the interpreter to be able to connect for just a few moments in an impartial, unbiased way with the people who will be using their services in order to set the ground rules for how it's supposed to work. Because let's face it, interpreting is a little bit weird. Somebody's going to be speaking as though they were somebody else, and whenever you see...
What did she say she's going to set? She said we're going to do what? Set what?
Said interpreter.
Somebody's going to be speaking as though they were in order to set the ground
hold on.
rules for how it's supposed to work. Because let's face it,
Hold
just
on.
a few moments
Hold
in
on.
an impartial,
Hold
unbiased
on.
way with the people who will be using their services in order to set the ground rules for...
And that do the what?
Set the ground rules.
Set the ground rules. So in your pre-session, that's what you are doing.
Interpreting is a little bit...
No. Just read what's on the screen. So in your pre-session, that is what you're doing. You want to set the ground rules. That's what your pre-session is about. Okay? To find out information about the patient if necessary, and also to set the ground rules. Which means this is the way I'm going to conduct this encounter. Okay?
For how it's supposed to work. Because let's face it, interpreting is a little bit weird. Somebody's going to be speaking as though they were somebody else, and whenever you see interpreting in the movies or on television, it's not the way that it actually works. It's always reported speech. Oh, well, he says blah, 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 and there's paraphrasing, and there's advocacy, and there's things that normally under regular conditions do not occur in an interpreting assignment. So it's really important for you to be on the same page with your clients and for them to know how to help you have your job done easier. Now, you have to look at it from two perspectives. You're going to have the things that you want to communicate, but then you also have to see how you can meet the person so that they can hear what you have to say. It's not enough to just say the things. They have to actually hear them. So in a pre-session, there's usually 4 things that we're told to say.
How many things?
4.
Okay.
4 rules.
The SIFIs or...
No. She didn't say 4 rules. She said 4 things. Let's just keep it simple.
4 things.
Okay. Now, I want you to write in your book C-I-F-E. CIF. C-I-F-E. C-I-F-E. CIF.
C-I-F-E. CIF.
Okay, CIF.
The SIFs or CIFEs, which are confidentiality, I speak in the first person, flow control, and everything will be interpreted.
Okay, what is CIFE?
Confidentiality.
What's the I?
Everything will be interpreted.
Again for us.
Okay.
Confidentiality. I, everything will be interpreted.
No, read the screen. It's already written for you.
I speak in the first person.
Yes. Okay. C is confidentiality. I is I speak in the first person. Okay.
Okay.
Flow control.
What is F?
Flow control.
Flow control.
F. Flow control.
Okay.
And everything will be interpreted.
What is E?
Everything will be interpreted.
Okay.
Now, the first and the last, fine, but...
Which are the first and the last?
The first is confidential, the last is everything.
Okay. Okay. So which are the other two that she says is a bit not so clear?
Speak in the first person. Auto control.
Okay. I is I and F. I will speak in the first person and then flow control. She says those are not so clear. So let's hear her explanation.
I take issue with the middle two because they mean nothing to the average person. If you say, I will speak in the first person, they're going to have to figure out in their heads what that means, and you don't want to make them work to understand. So I prefer to say something like, I will speak as though I were you.
Okay, what did she say she will do?
I will speak as though I were you.
Okay.
Like you. I will speak like you.
Not like you, as though.
I will speak as though I were in your place.
Don't make it, yes, that's correct, but don't make it complicated. I will speak as though I were you. It's fine.
Okay. Okay.
Or I will speak, yeah.
You can speak directly to the doctor.
Okay, so then you can speak directly to the doctor. Okay? In other words, don't speak to me, speak to the doctor. Or the other way around, speak to the patient.
Or I will speak as if I were you. You can speak directly to the patient. Okay? You can even throw in something like, it'll make things go much smoother if you speak to each other, and I'll just speak as though I were you. Right? So that's much more explanatory than I speak in the first person. Flow control, again, nobody knows what that means. Barely the interpreters know what that means. What it means is that every now and then you may raise your hand to pause them, or you may ask for a repetition, and that's all part of you managing the flow of the dialogue.
Okay. Let's take that back. What are the aspects of flow control? How do you control the flow?
Every now and then you may have to raise your hand.
By raising your hand.
To do what?
Ask for a pause, ask for a repetition.
Okay.
Ask for clarity,
or you may ask for a repetition, and that's all part of you managing the flow of the dialogue. Okay? But you're not going to use a fancy term of art like flow management to describe that. You're going to use basic language that the doctor and the patient can understand. So you have to think about your pre-session as an elevator pitch where you have very little time to establish the guidelines of an interpreter-facilitated conversation. And it's your moment to set those ground rules so that later if somebody slips and they say, tell her this, or don't interpret that, then you can say, oh, as I said earlier, speaking as the interpreter, everything will be interpreted. And actually you can speak directly to the patient, right? You already said it. So now they know, now it's on them that actually they slipped up, which is fine. It's not about fault or anything like that, but they were warned, they knew. So when you remind them, you're not a jerk.
Okay, we'll stop here. You've seen this. The video is there. So submit your own elevators, your introduction. Okay, submit it in the class, as you know.
Oh, you want us to send it to you?
Yeah. Actually, let me do this. Let me put it.
I wrote it on something else.
Okay. Are you ready to say it now? Yeah, you ready? Okay. Give me a second. Yeah, I do want to see it, and then next class you will do your introduction. Okay. So practice it in both languages. Write it. Practice it in both languages. And next next week you will do you will introduce yourself and your pre-session, okay? All right?
Okay.
All right. Let me put it as an assignment. Create assignment. Write up your introduction in both languages and post here. You will introduce practice. Okay. Title, actually, let's do this. Pre-session introduction. Post here. You will practice during the week. And you will introduce yourself at the start of class next week. Okay. Okay. So the all right. So the assignment is, so this is the assignment, pre-session introduction, okay? Write up your introduction in both languages and post here. Practice during the week, and you will introduce yourself at the start of class next week. So that's the assignment. All right. Okay. So that's your pre-session, and then this is where we are. And there's another video here you can look at. Now, let's look at this session. The purpose, of course, is to facilitate communication between patient and healthcare provider accurately and impartially. So you introduce yourself, like we said, position yourself appropriately to ensure clear communication and eye contact. So ensure clear communication, and so we're going to take this out and ensure clear communication, and that the patient and provider have unimpeded eye contact where, okay, the reason why I say where possible is if for example, there are some situations in which the patient and the provider are not looking at each other. If the patient is lying down on their back on their belly because their back is being examined, or if the doctor is doing a pelvic exam, obviously, or a rectal exam, obviously they can't be looking at each other, but the eye contact is between the two parties, not with you. Okay? You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's
patient doctor.
Yes.
Eye contact is for patient and doctor.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So one, your introduction. Two, you position yourself well. Again, if you're in a so positioning is very important, right? If you're in a place where there's like the X-ray is being used, you want to position yourself in a place that stay outside, so position yourself that you're not exposed to X-ray. Okay, there are things like that. If you are interpreting for a violent patient, make sure that you position yourself in such a way that nobody blocks your access to the door. Okay, so positioning is important, right? And then of course you have to interpret, and then remember and then use in appropriate interpreting modes, whether consecutive, simultaneous, and things like that. Whisper, and then interpret everything that is said, including questions, answers, and explanation. Maintain accuracy, completeness, and impartiality. Manage the flow of conversation, ensuring that both parties have the opportunity to speak.
I have a question. Let's say that you are interpreting for somebody who has mental problems. What if they are not listening to let's say you say pause, or if they're talking too fast. What if they don't want to listen to you? What do you do in that case?
Well,
if they just keep talking.
Yeah, well, these are the challenges. We will see. I'm sure I think some of our notes include that. We'll see how you deal with issues like that, where there's going to be a class on interpreting in special situation, mental health situation, and all that. So it's one of the things we'll look at. Okay, convey patient tone. Register. Remember the other thing? Tone, register, and what?
Style.
Thank you. Okay. Now, register. Register refers to the. Well, let's look for the definition of register.
Maybe a type of vocabulary.
Yes.
For example, if the patient is from Argentina, they will say vos. Vos. Para, to say you. While in other countries, they are going to say usted. Usted too.
Okay, well, that's okay. Well, let me tell you what register means. Okay, so register. Let me make this. in italic, so it's not part of our main text. So language register is this way of speaking or writing that usually is for specific purpose. Okay, so I'll give you an example. So there are various types of register. Okay, there's what you call casual, formal, intimate. Okay, for example, you can say belly. You can say stomach. You can say abdomen. Okay, so they are the same word, but there are different levels of formality.
Mm-hmm.
So
okay. Chest, thorax.
Yes, chest. Thorax. Yes. You can, chest, thorax, things like that.
Thoracic cavity.
No. Cavity is different.
Okay.
You can say, you can say your arms, or you can say your upper extremities. Okay, so register is just the level of the language. Whether it's simple word, it's a simple. If the patient is using simple words, if the patient says my belly, you shouldn't say my abdomen.
Mm-hmm.
So you also to reflect the patient's register. Okay, that's why I just
level. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's go back to our so the things you are doing, your introduction, so during a session, your introduction, your positioning, and you interpret. Okay, and then there's what you call intervention, which is when necessary, which means you intervene to clarify. So there are three things you intervene to do. Okay, you intervene to clarify. Okay, you can intervene to deal with cultural barriers, or you can intervene to advocate. We're going to see this in the the other part of the lecture. Okay, so again, introduction, positioning, interpreting, and then intervening. Okay, so if you stop, sorry, interpreter did not. This is the speaking as interpreter. I didn't understand what I just said. So that's an intervention. You are saying, please stop. Can you repeat? You are in that case, you are intervening to clarify. Okay. So if the patient says, Mahmoud, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
So
okay.
If you say that to a provider here, they will say the patient has suicidal intention.
Mm-hmm.
But you know that culturally, Mahmoud doesn't mean I'm going to kill myself.
No.
All right. So you can interpret that, but then you don't say to the provider in the culture, saying that just means things are very, very bad. It doesn't mean I'm going to kill myself. So that's you're intervening to make a cultural clarification. Okay. So you could intervene to make a message clarification, or you could intervene to make a cultural clarification, or you could intervene to advocate for the patient. Okay. All right. And then the post-session is after the appointment. Okay, it's you want to debrief and document the encounter. So if necessary, address any remaining questions or concerns from the patient and provider. Okay. Reflect on the interpreting encounter and identify any challenges or areas of improvement. So you can either debrief by yourself, debrief with somebody. If there were some vocabulary terms you didn't understand, you want to write them down and go and check them. And then if you were a contract interpreter, sometimes you might need to submit the form, have them sign the form and send it off, fax it or email it, to get paid. So we call this post session. Okay. All right. And then also part of post session is your self-care. So if the session was emotionally difficult, you might need, just to, a few moments to decompress, or you might need to talk to somebody, talk to your manager and things like that. Okay. So this is a sample introduction. Hello, I'm a certified medical interpreter. You might, if it's a telephonic interpretation, you might need my number is, okay. Let me just scale for virtual interpretation. Which means telephone or video. Okay. You might need to give your number. My role is to facilitate communication between the healthcare provider or the patient, because then you're going to say, same thing. You say the same thing to both parties. Okay. I will interpret everything that is said accurately and completely. Please speak directly to the provider, and they will speak directly to you. This is not complete. Let's see. I will improve it. Accurately and
everything will be kept confidential. Everything will be interpreted and kept confidential.
Please speak directly to the patient, the spirit.
And short sentences. No side conversation.
No, that's a part of it.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, this is just okay. All right. You can go and look at these. Okay. I'm not going to play them. You play them yourself. We're going to take 8 minutes break. Come back at 7:30, and we're going to look at the roles of a medical interpreter. Now, see this link here? Yeah. This is, so if this is that link here will take you to this, and there are lots, so you can see a lot of videos from that link. Okay. All right. Do you understand?
Okay.
Okay, so these are, you know, and then you can click each of them. They are YouTube videos. So this is very important. Okay, so for example, this is, when is it justified to advocate in interpreting sessions? So somebody asked this question. I think Enoch, you asked this question. This video is about interpreting versus translating. This video is about clarifying. Okay. So let me put this aside, and I'll come back and see some of these videos, you know, now. Okay, so let's go back to, all right. So, so here we're talking about the roles of medical interpreters. And here you see that we said that in your interpreting session, you're interpreting. When you are speaking, you're just going, you know, somebody says something and you say it to the other person. In that role, you are acting as a conduit. Okay? You're acting as a conduit. Conduit means, you know, someone who something that transfers something from something to another. Conduit. Okay. You know, you take something. You know, doctor says, you say to the interpreter, to the patient, interpret. So you are just acting as a conduit, back and forth. Okay. Maintaining accuracy and completeness. Then we said that when it's necessary, you can intervene. And so when you intervene, you're either intervening to clarify a message, okay? Okay. Clarify a message, okay? Let me put that. So you're clarifying a message, or you're intervening to resolve a cultural barrier, or you're intervening to advocate. So this four, right? Conduit, clarifier, cultural broker, and advocate are the four roles of medical interpreters. Okay? So these are the four roles of medical interpreters: conduit, clarifier, cultural broker, advocate. Okay? Do we understand that?
Okay.
So the four roles of medical interpreters are conduit, clarifier, cultural broker, advocate. So your main role as an interpreter is to act as a conduit. If there is a breakdown in communication because of language difficulty, you can then stop for a second and say, in that case, you are, for just that brief moment, as a message clarifier. Okay? Or if it's a cultural issue, you can intervene to clarify that cultural issue. Or you can intervene to advocate. But your main role as an interpreter is as a conduit. So you can see that the area spent as a conduit is bigger than everything else. Okay, so your main role. So the way they put it here is that your role is one of incremental intervention. So you mostly stay in this role and go to the other roles only briefly if it is necessary. So consider conduit to be the meal, and the last three as expensive spices. Consider conduit to be the meal and the last three as expensive spices. Use sparingly. Always return to the conduit as quickly as possible. Okay, so you are interpreting. So most of your time is spent just passing the message back and forth. But if there's a breakdown in communication, then you have to stop and say, interpreter would like to, speaking as interpreter, I would like to clarify this issue. Okay. So once again, your main role is as a message conveyor. Okay, so the interpreter's primary role is to accurately and faithfully transmit the message between the patient and provider. This involves conveying the meaning, tone, register, meaning, tone, register, and style of the original message without adding, omitting, or altering any information. This is your main role, role number one. Okay, role number one. Role number two, okay, only when necessary, message clarifier. The interpreter ensures that both parties understand the message clearly. This may involve asking for clarification, paraphrasing, or providing additional explanation. Asking for clarification. Okay. This is especially important when dealing with medical jargon or complex concepts. So you must, if you need to, so your main role is conduit. If you need to, so I'm going to also put them in different sizes. I'm going to make this 20. I'm going to make this 8. I'm going to make this I want to make this 6. Okay. And I'm going to make this even 2. Okay. So use, don't do this. Don't make this 2. Okay. You should, you see, you can hardly see it. Advocate. Okay. Make it bigger than 2. And make it 4.
You can barely see.
Yes. That is used with caution. You should hardly do it. So let me make this. I'm going to make this even bigger. Let's say we'll make this. How big can we make it? Okay. So make this. This is your main role. Okay. Your main role, 28. We can make this 11. Make this 11. 11. Make this 8. And then we can make this 6. So you can see that these three together, 11 plus 8 plus 6, doesn't even equal this. Okay, so this is your main role. Okay, and then so it's incremental, so it's your main role. If you need to, this one is so. As a culture broker, you act as a bridge between the patient's culture, the patient's culture, okay. So this involves explaining cultural differences that may affect communication and healthcare decision. This, in providing cultural context and addressing potential cultural misunderstanding. And then advocacy. Okay, you may advocate for the patient's right to clear and accurate communication and all that. Okay. And then these are various videos that you can learn speaking first person. So again, go and watch these videos. But let me play this. Let me play this. Copy. All right. So remember I said this link will take you here. Okay. Will take you here. Where is it? Not responding. Okay, well, let's see. Is that an image? Maybe I've corrupted it. Interpreting. Okay, let's see if we can. Okay. YouTube, code of ethics, best practices, ethical decision making, interpreting roles, best practices, cultural awareness, role of cultural broker, code of ethics. Let me see. Okay, if it doesn't work, no problem. What is the title? Clarifying if necessary. Should work. Let me see if it works. Watch.
Hello, welcome to Mirror Interpretation Todorova. This is Ioana. I will be your interpreter. I will interpret everything you say and keep it confidential. Please speak in short phrases. Welcome back, guys. Thank you for your subscription, likes. I hope this video is gonna be useful again for you. So today's lection or class is about clarifying if necessary. Let's remember or repass the past class. The main role of the interpreter is conduct, which is the message converter from one language to another, meaning to meaning interpretation without adding, omitting, submitting, or changing anything. Meaning interpretation, right? So clarify, it's if necessary. So I'm gonna talk about when it's okay to clarify and intervene. Intervene mean come between and interrupt the speaker and the lab. Clarify mean to make something more easy to understand.
I feel like one of the hardest things to do in an office is translate what you actually.
Okay, so yeah. Let's. Anyway, this will happen when you don't have a paid YouTube channel. Anyway, so I will actually put this videos. I won't make you. You don't have. You can go here and just see the various titles and click on them. But what I will do is before I post this lecture, I will put up some videos about message clarifier and all of these things. So some of these videos I will post them. Okay, but you get so remember there are 4 roles of the medical interpreter: conduit, clarifier, culture, broker, advocate. And you see that the way I've made the size of the main role, I made this one big, make this one, reducing in size. Okay, so this is your main role, and you clarify when necessary. Okay. Well, let's look at this. Maybe we have some time. We have 16 minutes. Let's look at this. A link.
Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we will be talking about the different roles of the interpreter. The first and the main role is being the bridge, being the connection between two parties, echoing what one party is saying to the next. The interpreter should always try to stay in this role unless it's needed to come out of it. And I will mention right now what other circumstances are there that will take the interpreter out of his way a little bit from the bridge role to other roles. One of the other roles that the interpreter does that would take him out of his main role of being the bridge between two parties is if he needs to be the clarifier. If you, the interpreter, needs clarification from the client or the limited English speaker, you need to state that clearly to the client. So you'd say, the interpreter needs clarification. Can I proceed with my question, please? This could be in instances like if there is a word that does not have an exact equivalent in the other language, and you need a clarification about that terminology, and then you will interpret the explanation to the other party. It could also be a term that you have not heard before, especially if you are interpreting for the medical field. That can happen quite often. If you do not have access to a dictionary in front of you and it's difficult for you to find the terminology's meaning right away, it's fine to ask the provider for an explanation, stating that this is a new terminology for the interpreter. I'm so sorry I don't know it yet. Would you mind explaining it a little bit further? And then they explain and you interpret the explanation. Sometimes you might see a misunderstanding between the two people or the two parties because of a cultural difference. It is your duty as an interpreter to explain that and alleviate that misunderstanding. You can state the following when you need to do so. This is the interpreter speaking. I would like to explain a cultural aspect, please. And then you proceed with your explanation. I will give you an example of this. There might be an elderly lady and the doctor is a young lady. The elderly lady asks the young doctor if she was pregnant. The doctor gets offended at this question. So the interpreter might step in here and say, the interpreter would like to explain a cultural aspect. It is very common in the Middle East for women to ask each other if they are pregnant or not, or to ask each other such personal questions, and is not considered an offense in that culture. Do you have an example of a cultural misunderstanding that you can alleviate as an interpreter? Another role that the interpreter needs to play sometimes is being a general facilitator. So sometimes you as an interpreter see that there is a misunderstanding between the two parties. It's not cultural related, but there is a misunderstanding. So you can step in and help in this situation as well. The suggestion I have is to not give the suggestion directly, but ask it in a form of a question. For instance, you can say, the interpreter has a question. Would it be a good idea if? And then state what you have to say. After you have asked your question, follow the client's direction. In all cases, we interpreters need to remain respectful to all parties at all times. So with all these three roles that the interpreter can play sometimes, being the clarifier, being the cultural facilitator, or being the general facilitator, after you play these roles, make sure you return to your main role of being the echo, of being the bridge between the two parties as soon as possible. Do you think there are any other roles that you as an interpreter had to play during your interpreting tasks? I would love to hear about them in the comment section below.
Okay, so so she used general advocate instead of general facilitator. another word we use for that is advocate. Say, for example, I was interpreting for an appointment, postpartum, which means postpartum as after 6 weeks postpartum appointment for a young mother. And the doctor was trying to explain birth control choices. The patient didn't want depot. She wanted she wanted an IUD and all that. So I suggested to the provider that I have some material, bilingual material, that provides information, that has very good information on postpartum birth control, that I could make that available, send it to her email. So in that case, I wasn't interpreting, I wasn't doing message clarification, I wasn't doing cultural facilitation, I was advocating. So that's advocacy. Okay, that's an example of advocacy. Or general this lady, she said, called it general facilitator. Okay.
So general facilitator is another way to say advocate.
Yes. I guess I've never seen. This is the first time I've seen that that word used, that term used. But I guess that's fine. So advocacy does not necessarily mean saying, doctor, you're a bad doctor, I'm going to report you. Just if you are not, if it is not if you're not being a message conveyor, you're not being a message clarifier, you're not being a cultural clarifier, the only other thing you are doing is general advocate. General facilitator or advocacy. So remember, there are 4 roles. Okay, and your conduit is your only role really is to be a conduit. That's your only role. All the other ones are to help you in your conduit role. Okay? Do you understand? Your real one, you have one role as a conduit.
Yeah.
Okay. But it's like a traffic cop. The role of a traffic cop, what is the role of a traffic cop? You are muted. Enoch, you're muted.
Yeah, a role of a traffic cop is to enforce traffic laws or traffic rules or safety, you would say.
No, that's not the role of the traffic cop. Nadia, what's the role of a traffic cop?
Protect or do ensure that the rules of the traffic being respected.
No, that's not their role. They have one role: to ensure smooth flow of traffic. That's their role. But in order to ensure smooth flow of traffic, you have to make sure,
the rules are followed. Okay.
Yes, because the rules are there to ensure smooth flow of traffic, right? If you are not supposed to make a left turn and you make a left turn, there's an accident, right? It will impede flow of traffic. The reason why they don't want you to drive too fast is because you can have an accident and impede flow of traffic. So the role of a traffic cop, especially, so if you imagine a traffic cop who is directing traffic at an intersection, their role is not to stop vehicles. Their role is to ensure smooth flow of traffic. But in order to ensure smooth flow of traffic, sometimes you have to stop one side so that the other side can go. And then you stop that side so the other side can go. So your role at an intersection is not to stop traffic, it's to ensure smooth flow of traffic. And to do that, you might have to sometimes stop this person, tell the other person to go. So that's the same thing as an interpreter. Your role, you have one role: to ensure flow of communication as a conduit. But to do that, accurately, you might sometimes have to stop to clarify the message. You might have to stop to clarify culture, or you might have to facilitate generally. Okay? And you remember, you speak in the first person, right?
Yeah.
Let's see this one. Let's see, copy, hyperlink. Let's see if we have 5 minutes to see this one.
What is the role of an interpreter? Excellent question also. So the role of an interpreter, a lot of times when we're working with our clients, they really don't know. A lot of times they will speak a long sentence or a bunch of words, and then they want the interpreter just to speak, or they want to hand us a document and just say, here, read this to the client. The role of an interpreter is actually be the mouthpiece, very, very neutral, and only saying whatever the other person is saying in that native tongue. We're putting it in a new language. So if it's strong language, even curse words, or getting excited or very dull, we need to take on that same sort of semantic field, and we need to have the same emotion, and we need to mirror what's going on in those situations so that we're doing what the client needs. So the role of the interpreter is not just to be handed a document and just talk about it. It's not to be in a room alone with a client. It's only to be the mouthpiece. And an interpreter really is also a cultural broker. So they bring in the nuances that are appropriate for the culture. So they're, going to be looking out for the person you're interpreting for and making sure that what you're communicating is well received in their culture. So a lot of times people don't even know, what is an interpreter supposed to do? They think it's very simple, or they think, wow, you interpret in over 200 languages, but sometimes I say one simple sentence and the interpreter goes on forever. Well, sometimes what's happening is actually words expand. In Spanish, it's 25 or 30% more words than in English. So there is this, sometimes it's that cultural brokering, which is explaining context, because some, let's say it's in the healthcare field. Some people don't have the immunizations, and so they don't know what's going on or why. And so a lot of times the interpreter should say, interpreter request to speak, and I'm going to explain what's going on to the person. The role of the interpreter is very important. It's very nuanced, and it's a structure, and people have been trained and HIPAA compliant, and they go through days and 120 hours of training and vocabulary training. Very, very important role to ensure the accuracy and the quality of what's being said in the original language, the native tongue, is then.
Okay. All right, well, we'll stop here. So I will complete the notes, put a few more on this, clarify and all that, and then make sure you look at all the the videos, including the ones we didn't see, and look out for the assignments. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Questions?
Okay.
Questions? Are we good? Are we good?
I think.
Okay. All right. Well, so there'll be assignments. Look at the assignments. Practice your introduction, and God bless you. And I'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right then.
Bless you.
All right. Bye.
Have a good night.
Good night.